Okay, guys, so in this video, we're going to talk about Royal Caribbean Cruises stock. I've already posted a couple videos on Carnival, so this time I wanted to talk about a slightly smaller cruise line company, Carnival being the largest in the world, and Royal Caribbean being the second largest. So as you can see, guys, we're taking a look at this 6-month chart here, and Royal Caribbean stock was doing excellent at $133, and then it's seen a major collapse all the way down to a low of $21. So if I were to turn this into a chart, a 6-month chart, this, if you guys see that, the stock price is down 66%. So guys, that is just an amazing drop off, and the stock has recovered a bit. We see a bit of a double bottom here. So I basically want to talk a little bit more about Royal Caribbean stock, but I want to caution you guys a bit as why I don't really like it as much as Carnival. So be sure to watch the entire video and leave a comment after the video letting me know what you think about Royal Caribbean stock. So guys, let's get right in. Okay, so I want to talk about how Royal Caribbean was doing before the whole coronavirus pandemic. So as you can see here, it says Royal Caribbean reports record 2019 results and provides 2020 guidance, introduces the 20 greater than 25 program by 25. So what's basically going on with Royal Caribbean is they have a new kind of goal going on. So I want to talk more about that, but let's get right into the beginning of the earnings. It says Royal Caribbean Cruises today reported 2019 U.S. GAAP earnings of $8.95 per share. So I'm obviously going to throw out these 2020 numbers, so let's just skip that part right now because these numbers haven't reflected the whole coronavirus situation. But the good news is that before this situation happened, Royal Caribbean was doing excellent progress, and they even initiated this 20 is greater than 25 by 2025 program, which basically says that by 2025 they're looking for $20 earnings per share, and they wanted to reduce their carbon footprint by 25%. So why would they want to do these two things? Well, $20 earning per share would basically be doubling their earnings per share as of now, and their carbon footprint they want to reduce it because unfortunately cruise ships are some of the most toxic contributors to polluting our environment. So I've read a lot of things about cruise ships, and guys, they emit a lot of toxic fuel and byproduct. Basically, it takes a lot of energy to carry that ship with all of those people across the ocean. So that is one of the things that they're working on, and they had a really nice kind of plan set up until they got derailed by the coronavirus. So let's just take a closer look at their entire full year earnings on the latest quarter. So as you can see, they made just under $2 billion. I mentioned that earlier, $8.95 per share. Now, some of the things that they're mentioning, it says, as previously announced, the Wuhan coronavirus and efforts to contain it are expected to negatively affect our results. While we expect this to be temporary, the situation is highly fluid and the overall impact cannot reasonably be estimated at this time. Accordingly, our guidance does not include any provision for the impact of the outbreak. We will update our guidance as the situation stabilizes. We can reasonably estimate the impact. So the impact is obviously major, and because of this, Royal Caribbean has done quite a bit of layoffs. So as we can see here, here's an article posted on Cruise Industry News. It says major layoffs at Royal Caribbean. It says Royal Caribbean Cruises is laying off and furloughing up to 26% of its United States-based workforce. And it says earlier today we told our employees the difficult news that we're laying off or furloughing approximately 26% of our more than 5,000 co-workers in the United States. So unfortunately, guys, the majority of these people have been permanently laid off, which means that Royal Caribbean is anticipating a huge downturn in volume, and that makes sense. So now what I want to show you guys is I want to show you guys some other things that Royal Caribbean has been doing to raise money, because if you guys didn't know, even though this stock does trade on the New York Stock Exchange, Royal Caribbean, believe it or not, is actually incorporated in Liberia, so they are not eligible for the CARES Act bailout from Donald Trump. As you can see here, it says Royal Caribbean Cruises Limited is a global cruise company holding incorporated in Liberia. So what is Liberia? It's actually a West African country. So because a lot of these, as you can see here, it's located on the tip of West Africa. Interesting stuff. So actually, Carnival Cruises is also another company that's not incorporated in the United States. They're incorporated in Panama. So a lot of these cruise companies are actually incorporated outside of the United States, so they won't be eligible for the bailout. So it's really important that they have enough financing. So one of the problems that I actually have with Royal Caribbean's cruise stock is simply they have a much worse balance sheet than I expected. So as you can see here, of the last quarter, they had around 243 million in cash and over 11 billion in debt. So there is risk of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and that's probably why the company laid off all of those employees a couple days ago. So if we take a closer look, we can see that the company desperately raised a lot of money and they basically maxed out their credit line. It says Royal Caribbean Cruises has announced that it's entered into a 2.2 billion 64-day secured term loan facility, further enhancing the company's liquidity position. The company has borrowed the full amount available under the term loan to further boost its liquidity. So it says, including this new financing, the company has over 3.6 billion of liquidity comprised of cash deposits and its existing undrawn revolving credit lines. In addition, the company is committed financing all of its new ships on order. So basically, this is from the CFO. It says this is a period of unprecedented disruption for the cruise industry. We continue to take decisive actions to protect the company's financial and liquidity positions as they enable us to keep focused on our guests, our crew, and our long-term plans. So, guys, what do I think about what's going on right now? So, obviously, I think that out of the two stocks, Carnival is the much stronger play. They're the largest cruise line in the world, and they're more likely to stay in business after this. Things are not looking good for Royal Caribbean. They have a very tiny cash position and a lot of debt. And one of the things about Royal Caribbean is the fact that so one of the things that I don't really like about Royal Caribbean in general is that they were doing negative free cash flow here. Okay, so if we take a look at the 3-month chart here, we can see the stock is actually down 72% over the last 3 months, and the company hasn't actually cut their dividend yet. So they did just pay their latest dividend for the last quarter. So I would obviously expect them to cut it, but I'm going to keep you guys updated on this because I don't really think that they're able to keep paying it, especially because they had to lay off so many employees and tap their credit line. So assuming they find some way to continue paying the dividend, which is probably highly unlikely, the current dividend is sitting at around 8%. So if you think they're going to keep the dividend, this is obviously a high yield opportunity, but Carnival, the largest cruise line in the world, as I mentioned in some other videos, they cut their dividend, so I would expect Royal Caribbean to follow suit, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So is there some upside here? Well, for me personally, let's just take a look at the latest chart. So we can see here the stock's currently trading around $37. I think Carnival is a little bit safer in my opinion. I think Royal Caribbean seems like if they're out of these two for Royal Caribbean and Carnival, it looks like Royal Caribbean would be more likely to go bankrupt. I just think Carnival just has a little bit more support. Also, of course, the director of Carnival purchased a large stake in the company, and the private investment fund of Saudi Arabia as well. So I just think Carnival has a lot more strong backers. I haven't seen too many big players come up and scoop up shares of Royal Caribbean. But of course, the stock is around 77% off. So for you guys out there that are looking to trade in short term, I think there's value here. But for me, long term, if I'm going to hold a stock, I'm going to gravitate towards Carnival. So guys, it's going to be really interesting. Expect Royal Caribbean to report earnings, I believe, in May, around May 1st or something like that. There's conflicting dates on certain sites, but if you go to Earnings Whisper, that's a good one. They say they'll be reporting on May 5th. So we should see pretty good solid numbers in Q1, and then Q2 should be a disaster because the majority of these companies are going to be suffering through Q2. So we're going to see some terrible numbers for these cruise stocks where basically they've lost all of their revenue, and I think it's a little bit dangerous to trade them or hold these stocks a little longer. But the good thing is that I think if you look at Carnival stock, I think there's a lot of value there. With Royal Caribbean, there's a lot more risk, but if you guys are willing to hold these stocks for 2 to 5 years, you'll be rewarded. So for me personally, I'm going to be staying away from Royal Caribbean. I'm more interested in Carnival, but for you guys out there that are willing to hold these companies until 2022, where this whole thing should be behind us completely and people should be riding on cruise ships back to normal, I think there's some long-term value there. So that's my take on Royal Caribbean stock. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video and subscribe for more videos. I'm covering more videos in the future on cruise stocks like Royal Caribbean and Carnival, and just the kind of the best value stocks out there in general, so you guys can buy these stocks and make some money. So please leave a comment below what you think about Royal Caribbean stock. Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you holding? Or are you just avoiding altogether? Really interested to know what you guys. And what do you think is better? Do you like Royal Caribbean or Carnival stock more? I'm probably going to do a future videos pretty soon and compare both of these stocks side by side to give you guys some more insight on which one to choose. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.